Hello, everybody. How are you? How are things in your world? I hope good. Guys, we're continuing our series on Charlotte, and based on the information I shared in one of the last videos, I'm getting a lot of questions. Why are there so many banks in Charlotte, North Carolina? We're going to answer that question, and it's kind of fascinating, guys. Now remember, this is a parody channel. Most of what you're about to hear is completely made up by me off the top of my head. But it's based on the conversations I've had with people on the streets and avenues, the nooks and crannies of Charlotte, because I get down to where the people on the street know the information. And there's a lot of theories about it. They're very, very interesting. For example, and if you know any better information than what I'm about to give you, leave a comment. Let's get to the bottom of this, because a town the size of Charlotte with the 798 banks and savings and loans and credit unions that are inside the city limits, not to mention the suburbs, raises a lot of questions. Why? So the number one theory that I'm hearing, guys, and this is kind of fascinating, is that Charlotte, while people are happy with the lifestyle there, people are happy with the fact that it's a perfect blend almost of a small town and a big city. You don't have the congestion and chaos and crime of a big city like Los Angeles. Certainly you have a certain percentage of that, but it's not near on the scale of a New York City or Chicago or LA, where things are out of control. And on the flip side, you have the charm and the access and the friendliness of a small town. It's a perfect blend. So that's why this rumor is really interesting, because even though they're happy with that situation, they're trying to build Charlotte into what I'm going to call a super city. So the reason there's so many banks and financial institutions is they're lining up the cash to first encourage and then possibly then coerce, if people don't go along with the plan, to use eminent domain to incorporate thousands of towns, at least hundreds, possibly thousands of towns and communities around Charlotte into a giant super city within 1 to 2 years. So the idea is to move Charlotte up from the list of these different sizes of urban centers from where it is now to at least in the top 5 in the country, while maintaining the quality of life. Now, I don't know if they can do it, but it's an audacious plan, and it's supposed to roll out in 5 phases, guys. I don't know this for sure, but like phase 1, as I understand it, they're going to go to the southwest, Lake Wylie, Steel Creek, Belmont, Lau, and the reason they're doing that is because they need those waterways for Lake Wylie. They need a water source, okay, to all the way up to the Catawba River, right through there, all right? And also, the water source is close to the international airport, the Charlotte Douglas Airport, where they would need to be able to bring in business flights and tourists from around the world and handle the level of travel that a major city entails. So that's why that's phase 1. And then phase 2, they're just going to go straight south, okay? They're going to look at Pineville, the Montclair South. They're going to go down to Fort Mill, Riverview. They might even stretch over the border. This is what's interesting. They might even go over the border into South Carolina, okay? So they would have part of the southern edge actually in South Carolina. That's how audacious this plan is. I mean, they're looking at Great Falls, all the way down to the northern edge of Columbia, guys. That's how big. And in fact, Spartanburg might be in the 3rd phase, which is the different phases are going to go out in concentric circles. And the 4th phase, as high as Salisbury, getting toward High Point. There are some talks, I guess, on the table to bring High Point in and Greensboro into the Charlotte super city, leaving Winston-Salem as way, way down on the list. And in fact, many people believe that it's a, unbelievable move by the leaders in Charlotte to finally quash any kind of historical rivalry that they had with Winston-Salem that goes back to the beginning of the city. And of course, Charlotte was one of the original American Revolutionary hotspots. So it goes way back. So you can see that that revolutionary fervor is still alive in Charlotte as they lay out plans for this super city. Now, the other part of this is that they're going to start into the national forests in the northeast section of their state. And that's because they're going to need the lumber to build all of these different buildings to help accommodate the new government structures that they'll need to run this super city. It's an audacious, unbelievable plan, guys. Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm just hearing it from people that work in the ground level of the bank, security personnel, people the tellers, the people that park the cars. I haven't heard this from any high-placed sources, but it's the rumors on the street that I'm concerned with, because I often find that this type of information is more accurate than some of the BS that is spun at the higher levels. So now this is the second reason that there are so many banks and financial institutions, and Charlotte is concurrent with creating a super city. They're going to approach every university and college in Charlotte, in the Charlotte area and that part of the state, to becoming part of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. So what I mean is they're not saying they want to make them part of the North Carolina system. No, they want to make them part of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Okay? So they want to grow that university into a super school where there's probably 40 universities and colleges around the area, to give you an idea, of different sizes. And of course, with that size of number, you can guess that a lot of them are smaller schools. So it doesn't matter if they're private or public or whatever. They're going to approach them and say, we want you to be part of our super city and our super school, the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, not at Chapel Hill. Let's see, this is where people get confused, because they're used to hearing UNC Chapel Hill. No, this is the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. All right? And so they want to grow it. I mean, I'm going to say right now there's probably roughly 30,000 students. Okay? And of that, there's about 25,000 undergrads right now. So now they want to build it into a university with like 500,000 students, of which approximately 400,000 would be undergrad, at the one school. Now they'll use some of these outer campuses, but they will all be part of that one school. So they want to build the largest university in the world. Okay? This is the kind of forward thinking that has made Charlotte such a leader in so many fields, but now they're taking it to the very next level. It's just unbelievable. Now, the third part of this is interesting, because it's a little bit smaller part of what seems to be the master plan, okay? And I don't know really how to think about this other than probably some of the people that are behind this are movers and shakers that have been in the money, they come from money, they're leaders, they're business leaders, they're rich people. And so a lot of those people are into art, okay, and have their own art collections and work closely with different art institutions around the world and, of course, around the state. Could be Americana, right? It might be antiques. It just depends on what the art collector is into. But this is interesting. The rumor is that they're going to expand the Bechtler Museum of Modern Art in Charlotte. And they're going to do the same thing with the surrounding art galleries and art museums as they want to do with the university. And that is that they're going to first be enthusiastic supporters and ask them if they want to be part of the new Super Bechtler, it's called, or Super Beck for short, is the rumor that I'm getting, that Super Beck. And if they don't go along, They're going to use the power of their dollar to and the eminent domain. See, this is why it has to be a public-private 1-2 punch, because they need the money, but they also need the power of the government to say to them, I'm sorry, you don't have a choice. You have to take what is really a fair offer that we're giving you for your art museum, for your art gallery, and it will then become part of the superback. And again, they're going to use the main current site of the Bechtler Museum of Modern Art as the epicenter. But then all of these galleries will have the Superbeck logo on them across the city and across the region. And so if you think about a creative, fast-moving, fast-growing, innovative place like Charlotte, you're talking about hundreds, possibly thousands of art galleries and museums. Guys, I mean, this is really an amazing program. And I think if you're some of these mid-cities towns, mid-level cities, okay, that talk forever and ever and ever about expanding the arboretum, right, or the annual flower show. Should we put another $100,000 into the flower show, or something like these little baby steps in terms of growing their city, like little, you might call it small ball. That's not the case in Charlotte. Dude, they're swinging for the fences, and they're swinging with a big bat. They're gonna make a super city that stretches from into South Carolina, all the way up to the Tri-Cities, possibly including even getting, other than Winston-Salem, they might incorporate the other two of the Tri-Cities into their super city. I mean, it's an amazing, audacious plan. Then they're going to create a super university, and finally, in phase 3, or at least a third level of this program, will be the Superback, which is just going to be a giant mega art museum. Whew, guys! I mean, when people were telling me this on the phone, I'm like, "Are you kidding? Are they out of their minds?" And they said, "No, Charlotte is a different breed of cat, and when they want to grow the city and get it rolling, they know how to make these moves, guys. These are movers and shakers at a different level. And in fact, other cities could learn a lot from them, at least from their pure goal setting, right? To set big goals. Now, will they pull it off? Well, that remains to be seen. And they haven't even made their first move. That's the thing. It's going to go awful fast when they pull the switch. There you go. That's why there's so many banks and financial institutions in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you know any better information, leave a comment. We'll talk to you guys soon.